So what happens if we ban flooded corn? What's the best case scenario? What's the worst? What does that risk versus reward really look like if we move that direction? As of right now, it's no more than a call to action by Senator Kennedy out of Louisiana. He has called on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to do a full-fledged research program on the effects of flooded corn on the duck migration. And as of right now, there's no movement towards change as far as laws or regulations go. But in my opinion, I think these studies are preparation for changes in laws or regulations. Now, whether that'll happen on the federal or state level, I don't know. And right there's the problem. There's too many questions and not enough answers. My problem is I want to know more about how these studies are going to be conducted. Are you simply going to look at how flooded corn manipulates the migration, or are you going to factor in temperature trends over the past decades? Are you going to look at hunting pressure? That's definitely a fact. These are all factors that I want to see compared and contrasted in this study. I'm not against the study at all. I just want to make sure that we're doing these correctly and they're not biased studies that's just simply aimed at banning flooded corn, because I think there's a lot more to it than that, in my opinion. The big push to ban flooded corn is because out of all the factors that could be manipulating the migration, that seems like the one that we have the most control over. It doesn't seem that way, it is that way. That's the only one that I can think of that we have control over, and that's why people are going for it hardcore. The problem I have with this whole flooded corn debate is it's not as simple as just banning corn. Let's just say it was. Let's say we banned corn and it was simple as that. What does that look like? What does that mean? Does that mean that it's all sunshine and rainbows, and when the duck migration starts, it's an even trickle effect from Canada to Louisiana? Everybody gets a piece of the pie and everybody's killing limits all the time. Is that what it looks like? Let's just say we simply ban flooded corn federally and it doesn't change anything as far as the migration's concerned. They still don't make it as far south because maybe your winters are warmer than they were previously, or anything of that nature. Now you don't have flooded corn, you have added regulation, and you don't have any change that you were hoping for in the duck migration. Well, the problem is when you add regulation like that, it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle. These things are hard to get changed to begin with, and to remove them, if it's ineffective, is even harder. Here's the problem with added regulation. Whoever's writing these laws or regulations or rules, they aren't duck hunters like you and me. They don't understand the lingo or the actual practices, anything like that. Let's just do a thought experiment here and say that now, instead of just calling flooded corn baiting, they call impersonating waterfowl with decoys also baiting. Or impersonating a waterfowl with a call, that's baiting. So now you can only shoot passing ducks. You see where I'm going with this? It sounds silly, but you're talking about people writing these regulations that don't duck hunt and don't have a clue. There's just too many variables here that can go wildly off the rails, and I don't know if I am willing to risk that for this fairy tale that all we got to do is ban corn and everybody gets a piece of the pie. Here's the problem with that. 9th and 10th Amendment of the Constitution basically say that if it's not explicitly mentioned in the Constitution, it's delegated to the states. So now this ban on flooded corn trickles down to the states, And what if it's not a uniform procedure? What if Missouri and Illinois that share a border east to west have two different laws? So you're amongst the same flyway, just separated by a river, and they have two different laws. Let's say one of them has a loose definition of flooded corn, or maybe a certain amount of flooded corn, and Missouri has a complete ban on it. This is just a thought experiment. Now, from one side of the river to the other, you have entirely different opportunities for ducks. So here's another scenario. Let's say they ban flooded corn. Does that just mean that it's banned when man floods a corn patch? Or what if there's corn planted on a low-lying area within public hunting ground and the river gets out of its banks? Is that now off limits since it's underwater? Or is that fall under a different regulation? How does that work? I'm not against the study. I think the study should have a lot more scope than just the flooded corn. I think it just needs to be a blanket study of migratory patterns of waterfowl. Things have changed. Are we amongst a multi-decade cycle that this just happens? Is it something that happens and we haven't been observing long enough to see the shift in this pattern? Or is flooded corn actually the problem? Is weather patterns changing? Is that the problem? What is causing this, and is there even a fix for it? Or like I said before, is this just a cyclic pattern that happens within ducks and we haven't been observing long enough to see it shift?